Welcome to your City Commission meeting. Please turn off or silence all cell phones during the meeting. Meetings are televised every day on Channel 2 at 6 p.m. and midnight and available for viewing on YouTube. Call to order, Pledge of Allegiance, followed by silent meditation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
It's as high as it goes.
Okay, Mayor's Award. Okay, I'm here tonight to give a Mayor's Award, and I'd like to call up Colonel Meisenheimer to the podium. He wanted to do a little presentation before I do mine. If you'd like to say a couple words, and then.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Mayor, thank you so much for having us out from the fort this evening. So I'm Colonel John Meisenheimer. I'm the garrison commander. And here with me tonight, I have our outgoing deputy garrison commander, which is Mr. Mike Whitecotton. And we also have our incoming, which is Mr. Johnny Beavers. And then we have Mr. Jeff Wingo here, which is our public affairs officer. I want to thank you very much, Mayor, for inviting us out tonight. And I just wanted to comment how we're going through, as you all do during transition, we go through bittersweetness, where we've had an outstanding leader that's not only been a leader there at Fort Leavenworth to ensure that our garrison base operations and really an equivalent to city managerial work to continue for the installation to run every day to protect our families, our soldiers, to ensure that the missions can carry on, whether it's utilities, whether it's child care, whether it is just taking care of families through different a myriad of services. And I will tell you that who does that best and who has ensured that has made just seamless integration with the installation tenant units and with the families has been no other than Mike Whitecotton. And so I just wanted to just recognize him tonight, just to let you all know that he's been with us for several years. And not only before, he actually had worked at the CAC, the Combined Arms Center. He's worked at the DPTMS, which is our training and management directorate in the garrison, and then served as the garrison deputy for the last 4 years. And I'll tell you, I just pleasant to work with, true professional, expertise at his trade, and has just been an invaluable member to the Fort Leavenworth community. So, while we see him go, I know he's retiring. He's also a retired lieutenant colonel from the United States Army, and so this is a second retirement. And I know he's here. He'll be here in the community. But just again, outstanding citizen, outstanding leader. And so again, just wanted to recognize him tonight. And also, we have an amazing leader coming in from Fort Polk, Mr. Johnny Beavers. And so we're thankful to have him on board as well. So,
okay.
Ma'am, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the City of Leavenworth for the Mayor's Award goes to Michael Whitecotton for exceptional contributions to the City of Leavenworth and commitment to the current and future prosperity of Fort Leavenworth. In the role of Deputy to the Garrison Commander, Michael Whitecotton has embraced the Leavenworth community and made lasting contributions to the partnership and cooperation between the fort and the city. In particular, Michael has participated in the economic redevelopment of Northeast Leavenworth, provided insight on key infrastructure projects surrounding the fort, and was an important member of the Focus Committee for the city's 2030 Comprehensive Plan. Michael's dedication to soldiers and their families, his guidance, and his intelligence are the mark of true leadership and reflect the best of what creates the special bond between the city and Fort Leavenworth. So, Michael White Cotton, here you go, sir. It's a plaque for you.
Turn it here.
And then here's a little coin and a little pin for you too.
Thank you very
Oh,
much,
you're
Pamela.
welcome.
Very much appreciate it. Thank
You
very
want
much.
to, you want to say something real quick?
I'll say a couple.
Okay.
Well, first of all, what I was told was going to happen is we were going to give an update on Fort Leavenworth. Okay? So it's hard to surprise me. I've got a pretty good spy network, but they surprised me tonight. So I was totally surprised. Hey, I've told this story before, but it's applicable here. I came to CGSC as a major as a captain actually in 1991. When I saw this community and I saw this area and the fort and the way in which you were treated here as an instant member, you were just integrated immediately into the community, I knew I wanted to come back here. So I set my sights in 1991 to come back to this community, and in large part because of the city of Leavenworth and the partnership that you could see immediately in the way in which soldiers were accepted into this community. I set my sights coming back, and I did. And I had to pull a few strings to get back here. I will not lie to you, I did. But I was able to come back here, and this is a community that is like, I've never been in a community like this, where the relationship between the fort and the soldiers that serve on the fort and the community, it's almost seamless integration between the city and the residents in the city and Fort Leavenworth. And who benefits? We all do. We all do. And it is a partnership. I know Fort Leavenworth is important to this area, but the city is just as important and the community is just important to the soldiers that live in it. Because if you feel accepted here and you feel like you're part of a community, and this is small, this is small town America. I grew up in a town like this, and it feels exactly the same. So I want to thank everyone that has anything to do with the leadership and setting the tone for the city of Leavenworth, because it works, and it's worked for a long, long time. Paul, thanks for the partnership, particularly with you. You've been a great partner for me, a person I could reach out to and talk about what's going on the fort and what's going on in the city. You make that partnership very, very easy. So appreciate everything you've done. But I can't thank you enough, Kamala. Nancy, I've known you for quite a number of years as well. So it's been great working with the two of you, both here in your role in the city, but in other community projects as well. So thanks for recognizing me, and very humbled by that honor. Thank you.
Now, we'll continue on with our meeting, so you're all welcome to stay, as always.
It's a long meeting.
It's
You
a long
really
meeting.
don't have to stay.
But you can stay, that's fine.
Yeah, you can go.
I like to see people. Okay, we're gonna go on with old business. Consideration of previous meeting minutes from January 11, 2022, regular meeting. Any questions or concerns from my fellow commissioners?
No.
Okay, I just need a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the minutes from January 11, 2022, regular meeting.
Second.
Okay, begin voting with Ed
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passed. Okay, new business. Public comment, i.e. items not listed on the agenda or receipt of petitions. Public comment is limited to 2 to 3 minutes, and no action will be taken by the commission on public comment items. Please state your name and address. A sign-up sheet will be provided in the commission chambers for anyone wishing to speak. fill out the sheet with requested information when you enter the meeting. And Sarah, I believe we just have one that we're aware of, okay, which is Representative Pat Proctor. Come forward.
So thank you, Madam Mayor, for inviting me today, and Commissioners. I could take just a few minutes to talk about some stuff's going on in Topeka. I'd be happy to answer any questions, or if you want to have an extended conversation, I'd be happy to come back for a study session or whatever you'd like. So the first kind of big news item that's going on up there is last session, I sponsored a bill, House Bill 2021, which provides matching funds for a U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs matching program to get a veterans home for Northeast Kansas. Kansas only has 2 veterans homes. The need is way greater than the number of homes we have here. Plus, they're very far away from here, and all the veterans are up here in Leavenworth and in the surrounding communities. And so that bill passed, and along with an executive order from the governor that directed the Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs to apply for that grant, they've started that application process. And in October, they put out a request for site proposals. And I work with Paul, and we've got a proposal in. And I'm obviously very interested in getting it right here, if we can get it right here. So today, we had a committee hearing on Veterans and Military Affairs with the director of the commission, the acting director, Brigadier General retired Bill Turner, who I served with many, many years ago and several times over the years. We asked him directly what are the criteria and who's making the decision and what other bids are in. And of course, he's got to be a little bit circumspect, but there's a bid from Geary County. It looks like there's a couple bids, he said north and south of I-70, so I suspect it's probably Wyandotte and Johnson, but I don't know that for a fact. And then there's our bid. So there's 6 total bids. As to who is going to be making the decision, as of now, it's just a panel from different departments in the executive branch and a representative from the Governor's Military Council, which is run by General Retired Perry Wiggins. I asked him in committee, and tonight I sent a letter that's signed by every member of the committee who was present in the Capitol today, asking him to add a representative from the veteran service organizations like VFW or American Legion, because they lobbied hard for years and years and years to get us to this point. And I don't want their voice to be excluded right here, when we're at the point where we're going to submit the grant. So I'm waiting for, I just sent that tonight before I got in my car to come here to talk to you. So I'm waiting for a reply to that. But the fact that everybody, totally bipartisan, everybody on the committee who was in the Capitol today signed on to the letter makes me pretty confident that we'll get at least a fair hearing on that request. The other piece of legislation I talked about tonight, it doesn't have a bill number yet because I'm still rounding up co-sponsors in the billing to get as much support for it as I can, but it directly affects Leavenworth. It's an update to the historic tax credit. For anybody who's ever tried to do anything in the historic district in terms of revitalizing buildings, getting the tax credit is a huge pain, and it's very cumbersome process. And really, unless you've got $1 million or $2 million project, the expense to get the tax credit just doesn't make sense. And so the first piece of it is an alternative 10% tax credit. So those smaller projects, those smaller redevelopment projects can still get some kind of tax incentive, because ultimately the goal is to get more investment in historic downtowns like ours. Another piece of it is encouraging rural historic development in smaller towns. So right now, the current tax credit program is 25% tax credit. My bill would, if it's a community of less than 50,000, which would be Manhattan or smaller, and of course we'd be in that too, it goes up to 30%. And if you are developing in a really small town, 9,500 or less, it goes up to 40%, because we're trying to get these rural downtowns revitalized. The other piece of it is fire suppression systems. We want to get more people living in our downtowns, and a big expense is getting fire suppression in. And so there's an additional tax credit if you're putting in a fire suppression system, because we want to get people in these loft apartments and get these second stories revitalized. And then finally, there's a bank incentive to get our community banks to invest in these projects, because, you know, I've done a couple of these and they turn into money pits sometimes. And so banks don't want to invest in them, don't want to lend money to them, because sometimes it turns into a blank check. And so this provides some incentives for banks to invest in these projects so that we can get more of our storefronts that are, you know, out of service back into service, get businesses in them, get people living in our downtown. And so that's the other bill I'm working on. I'll have another update as soon as I plan on file this week, the bill, but I've still got a couple more co-sponsors I'm trying to reel in. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I have one real quick.
Yeah.
Representative Proctor, and then maybe Paul could. On that veterans home, I know it's a process. I mean, what's the length of time, do you think?
Yeah, so
we
the
will know?
governor's executive order directed that the grant application to the Department of Veterans Affairs be submitted by April. And so we're in the 2 weeks out from them convening this panel, deciding, solidifying the criteria they're gonna use to decide, and then deciding on these projects. So we're getting close to them making a site selection, probably within the next month, I would imagine. And then they've got to complete the actual grant. They've already got a design for a building and an architect that's on board. So so that it's imminent, and we'll definitely know within the next couple months where they're planning on putting it.
Okay, I'll keep my fingers crossed.
Yes.
Okay, anything else? No. Okay.
Again, thank you for the invitation.
thank you,
If
Representative Proctor.
if you ever have any other questions, please feel free to contact me.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you're gonna- Leaving. Okay, and Sarah, that was the only public comment, okay. Okay, mayor's appointments. I move to appoint to the Convention and Tourism Committee, Susie Young, to a term ending January 31st, 2025, and reappoint Tony Baker, Brian Huntington, and George Marsek to terms ending January 31st, 2025. Appoint to the Library Board, Pauline Graber, to an unexpired term ending April 30th, 2022.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, go ahead.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill? Aye.
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 Okay, motion passed. Okay, next is update for unsafe structure, 1006 Kickapoo Street.
This will be Hal Burdette, our Chief Building Inspector on this item.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Commissioners. 1006 Kickapoo is a structure similar to what we dealt with a couple of weeks ago. It was damaged by a fire back in April of last year. There's one little quirk in this process this evening is the ownership has changed since the fire. So the insurance proceeds came from the insurance policy of the previous owner. The new owners are making significant progress on the project. They have not met the standards that we typically would bring this to you and ask you to release it because they've gone a little bit above and beyond the fire damage in their renovations. Mm-hmm. They've increased an addition on the back of the house and other issues. They're gonna add decks and stuff.
Sure.
But staff feels that this structure no longer should be on the unsafe or dangerous structure list, and we're asking the commission to go ahead and authorize staff to release the funds back to the previous owners of the property. And we will continue to work with the current owners as they continue their renovations and complete the project.
Yeah, it looks good.
It does look good. Did they happen to say how much longer it was gonna take them?
No, I talked to him just last week, and like I said, they're concentrating on the addition right now, but then they plan on adding a pretty large deck on the west side. It's just like, they just keep coming up with more and more
More,
ideas.
yeah. Okay. Does anyone have any
But
questions?
they have been good to work with, so.
Have they? Good. Any questions? Okay, just needed a motion then.
All right, Madam Mayor, I'd like to motion to approve the release of the funds back to the property owners.
Second.
Yeah, that's fine.
To the original.
Yeah, the
owners.
original property owners, that's
Is
fine.
that what you
How we got it.
Okay. Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion approved. Thank you, Mr. Burdette.
So we aren't moving to take it off of the demolition list, right?
No, we're just releasing the funds back, and we'll watch it through a property
Fire.
maintenance process to see,
Got it.
make sure it keeps making progress.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next up is project update, 4th Street / K7 between Choctaw and Seneca.
Madam Mayor and Commissioner, I'll start with this item, and our Public Works Director's here, and I'd like to have our guests come up. Marty and David, if you guys want to go ahead and just have a seat up here, that'd be great. Madam Mayor and Commission, as part of the process for the reconstruction of 4th Street from Choctaw to Seneca, the process, as you know, started when we selected a design consultant. And those design consultants are in town for 3 different days, doing some public meetings and some wrap-ups. Normally, we would do something like this at a study session where they just give a brief introduction of where they are, but they're in town doing these public meetings, so I've asked them to
Okay.
do maybe just about a 5 to 10 minute quick update for you. I did attend one of the sessions today, and there was people that showed up, so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Marty Schukert from RDG Planning and Design, and David Smalling from BHC.
Okay,
All right.
welcome.
So, let's see, there we go. So yeah, I'm David Smalling with BHC, the project manager, handling most of the roadway, and then Marty Schukert's with RDG, and he's handling more of the aesthetics and landscape field. But just kind of give you a quick update. So basically, we are looking at 4th Street from Choctaw in the south up to Seneca, and looking to make improvements basically from building face to building face through that area. So that's kind of the canvas that we're working with. And also, where those touches, the side streets, maybe go back a little bit on the side streets and make some improvements there as well. So that's kind of the project limits that we're looking at. Right now in the design process, we have done a traffic study. So on October 7th, there was a traffic count done in the AM and PM, so from 7 to 9 AM and then 4 to 6 PM. And then on Delaware, there was a 24-hour count. So number of cars was captured, types of vehicles, so we broke down, kind of the semi-trucks or the bigger trucks where you have a cab and a trailer, as well as separated from either buses or single unit trucks. So we have a capture of what's there. Now, the idea that we're kicking out right now is going from, currently it's 4 lanes, and they're only 10-foot wide lanes, so they're kind of pretty narrow. You've driven it before, it feels kind of tight. You don't want to necessarily be going side to side with the truck there. So one of the thoughts is taking it down to 3 lanes. So about 11-foot through lanes and a 13-foot, what they call a 2-way left turn lane. So a place where you get those left turners off and get them in their own lane, so that if you're coming up behind them, you're not stopping, right in the roadway waiting for somebody to turn left. So that's kind of the prevailing thought right now. We haven't finalized going from 4 lanes to 3 lanes. We're here listening in the sessions today, and then so we had 2 today. We had one at noon, basically from about 11:30 to 1, and then we also had one tonight just now from 4:30 to 5:30. So if you're interested in coming out and providing your input, we're here tomorrow also on Wednesday. Again, it's at the community center from 5 to 6:30, and then on Thursday from 5 to 7, and then at 5:30. On Thursday, providing kind of a summary or maybe kind of snapshot of, hey, here's what we've heard, here's what we're thinking. But that's kind of a quick update from that standpoint. I'll turn it over to Marty to add
Okay.
anything else.
Thanks, Dave. Well, first of all, I am a big fan of downtown Leavenworth. It's a beautiful district, an historic district, and a district full of retailing and options. It's very unusual. So it's a wonderful district. It's a real pleasure to be working on it. We are, as Dave said, working on the I would say enhancement elements of 4th Street, but also testing the various sections and lane arrangements and so forth. We have really a dual goal here. One is to, of course, create a environment that moves regular traffic well, but also moves traffic of people on their feet, human powered traffic well as well. and shows off downtown Leavenworth for the gem that it is, as a gateway, and Fourth Street truly is a gateway to the community. It doesn't really provide a physical environment that befits the quality of downtown, and so treating that as an entry corridor is also important. We had, as Dave said, a meeting this noon that was supposed to be a 10-minute introduction that lasted an hour and a half, which is great.
That's good.
People were very interested and engaged in it. We tested ideas, talked about ideas. Some were pretty out of the box, some were pretty in the box, and there are a variety of priorities. We had a chance to understand and receive notes from Wendy about the priorities of the downtown community itself: greater walkability, managing traffic, reducing damage to buildings, creating a more less barrier-ridden, more commodious environment for all users, and are excited about some of the directions and ideas that we can develop. So as Dave said, we are right now working on street sections at 1 inch to 20 foot scale, so that our drawing is like 8 feet long. We have ideas up on of other places that we have worked in for people to respond to and see what they like and don't like in terms of specific elements to include. We'll be working through the day tomorrow with an evening meeting from 5 to 6:30 that we will have advanced ideas, so there'll be some things for people to look at. And then a final out briefing of where we've come over these 3 days from 5 to 7 on Thursday with a presentation at 5:30. It is a special pleasure to be working in the community center. And I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that it is probably the most interesting, creative, incredible community center, community recreation center I've ever seen. That the idea of wrapping it around a historic railroad station and building on that base is just phenomenal. And I thought the upstairs room that we were working in was a really nice room. Went down the stairs, downstairs to kind of exploring what that looked like, and was just bowled over by the idea of the track surrounding the depot, of the way that the pool and the gym and the weight room and so forth is all worked into that. It is a phenomenal project. So the city really deserves huge congratulations on having the vision to build something like that. So at any rate, I'm looking forward to a couple more days of working in that beautiful building. We invite people to come tomorrow evening to see where we're at, and are looking forward to a really great project as we move through the 4th Street plan.
One thing I'll touch on is the schedule, because some people are asking about what the schedule was. We're planning to do design. Once we get ideas collected for after this meeting, we'll begin the roadway design and get that those set of plans for review to KDOT in the late fall. There's a couple steps along the way, but the final set that we give to KDOT for their review will happen in the late fall, and then tentatively planning to have construction begin spring of next year. And that's kind of a general schedule.
Okay.
That's at least what's planned for now.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Yeah, I plan on, hopefully I attend the Thursday meeting I get to go to, yeah. So, yes.
Question, how many people attended the meetings?
Yeah, so the one we had earlier tonight we had 2 people, and then earlier today we had probably about 12. Did you say 12 to 15?
12 to 15.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All of
some real good
them
ideas.
stayed for an hour and a half, so that was.
It's basically kind of a Q&A session. We
Yeah.
kind of gave them a little bit of a rundown, kind of like we just did with you guys, and then just answered different questions they had. There were some, people were asking about going from 4 lanes to 3 lane, how does that interact? And really there's about a 20 to 50% reduction in crashes, primarily because you're getting those left turners off the road. Another thing too is, and one of the questions, if you come later, think about, if we're going from 4 lanes to 3 lanes, you're gonna have some extra space there to put in a pedestrian environment, whether it's on the west side or east side. So if we do make that transition from 4 to 3 lanes. One of the things that we're kind of picking the brain of those attending is which side would you prefer to have that extra space on for pedestrian facilities and amenities. And by going to 3 lanes, you're also going to get the traffic away from the buildings a little bit farther. And also your pedestrians, as they cross 4th Street, it's going to be a narrower crossing that they need to make.
I'd also add that one thing that we'll be looking at, and probably on this trip beginning to think about, is some ways in which some of the parking lots that are not heavily used right now that could be developed in ways that could be catalyzed by the 4th Street project. So we're thinking about a 4th Street that that might in itself not just be a traffic way, but a catalyst for development.
All right. Well, no, thank you for the update. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, did you? Sorry.
They
No,
answered it.
okay.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, transfer of 600 Cherokee to Land Bank.
This will be Julie Hurley. We also have our city attorney here for any questions.
Okay, do I need to make the motion first?
And I'll let Julie go through.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So thank you, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. So again, this is in reference to transferring the property located at 600 Cherokee into the city land bank. The property was purchased in 2021 for the purpose of facilitating redevelopment of the property. I'm sure you're all familiar with the RFP that's currently out on that right now. So after consulting with the county appraiser and talking to City Attorney Waters, it was determined that the property does not meet the tax exempt status for city-owned properties that's outlined in state statute. And so this was actually the suggestion of the county appraiser to place this property in the land bank in order to get it into a tax exempt status so that we can move forward with, facilitating that redevelopment. Otherwise, the city would have to file a tax appeal with the county's tax board. So this is really just a holding spot, again, to get that property into a tax exempt status so that we can move forward with the RFP and getting that into the hands of a developer to get that moving on. So placing this would, again, take it off the tax roll without having to take it to a tax appeal. And it would make it exempt from any property taxes until it's transferred into the hands of an individual property owner who moves forward with it. So if you have any questions, I or Attorney Waters can answer those. And so this does require a couple of different motions to convene into the land bank board to take action on that. So we might need Attorney Waters to guide us a little bit since this is the first time that we've functioned in that capacity.
Right, do I need to do that before
Yeah,
questions are asked?
No, you
No.
can go ahead and
Okay.
ask questions, essentially.
Okay.
I'll just add a little bit to this. So we're going to have kind of a multi-part process. The Board of City Commissioners here, you sit also as the Board of Trustees for the Land Bank. So conveying property, it takes two to tango. You can't just give somebody some property without them agreeing to accept it. So what I'm suggesting is that you act as the City Commission in approving the deed and the conveyance of the property to the land bank. And then my suggestion is that then you essentially recess and convene, put on your other hat as the land bank to then accept the property on behalf of the land bank. And then switch your other hat back on and you'll go back into sitting as the City Commission. I think a lot of our county governments have been used to this through the last couple of years, where they sit as the Board of County Commissioners, and then they also might sit as the local Board of Health, for example. And they just switch those hats on, and so they'll sit in those roles. So that's my suggestion for you to do that kind of two-part process today, but make sure you're wearing the right hat when you convey it, and the right hat when you accept the property.
Okay. So, any questions?
I got a question. Can you provide us with a quick update? What is the purpose of the land bank?
So just quick purpose of the land bank, it was really established to take in vacant and blighted properties in town and get those in the hands of developers to redevelop them and get those back into productive use. And really our thought behind that, and most cities when they establish a land bank in the state of Kansas, is to work with residential properties. And so that's our purpose going forward with it. It was just established in the last year. And so we're working through some steps to get things lined up to really get rolling on that. So this is just kind of a holding place for this. This isn't really with sort of our initial intent of it. It's just kind of getting into that tax exempt status. But yeah, the overall purpose of the land bank is to really get those vacant and blighted residential properties that maybe don't meet the criteria for demolition, but they've been sitting there for a while. We want to get them back occupied and, functioning in that capacity. So that'll be going forward, what we're primarily using the land bank for.
Okay, thank you.
I would also add to that, that the tax exemption is actually one of the primary benefits of having property in a land bank, because not only does it provide exemption for future taxes, but it also can be used to wipe out past and delinquent taxes. When that is, property is transferred to the land bank, delinquent taxes are wiped out. That can generally allow a city more flexibility in finding buyers for properties, that they do not have to assume delinquent taxes then as well. So that's one of the benefits of moving property into the land bank, is you get that. One of the reasons why, generally speaking, the property would not be tax exempt just because it's owned by the city, is that Kansas statutes require a use element to property exemption. That has to be used for a governmental purpose in some way. So that governmental entities that are just holding land but not using it for any purpose, that's not used for a municipal purpose. But this separate set of statutes creating the land bank allow past taxes to be wiped out and future taxes, and that allows flexibility in finding more buyers and negotiating better prices for property, to get property put back to productive use.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I'm in favor of it. Yeah.
What other structures do we have in the land bank?
We don't have any other structures in the land bank at this time.
And are we the only officers, the commission here, are we the only officers of the land bank?
You're the Board of Trustees, and I believe the ordinances then, of course, provide that as the City Commission, you authorize your city staff to essentially act as, work for the land bank and that, but you would sit as the land bank, but you are the Board of Trustees.
Okay. And the building 600 Cherokee, is that title clear?
I
believe it's acquired out of foreclosure.
Yeah.
Okay, we own it, but there's no
Yeah.
encumbrances or anything.
I mean, there may be easements and things like that of certain nature, but I believe you acquired a clean title through the foreclosure process.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. No other questions? Okay, then I guess, can I go ahead and make the motion?
So it'd be
Or
a
you wanna make-
motion to convey the property to the land bank.
I would move to convey the property into the land bank.
Second.
Begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passed.
My next suggestion would be that you, one of you move to recess from the Leavenworth City Commission and convene as the Board of Trustees for the Leavenworth Land Bank.
I move that we recess and convene as the Board of Trustees for the land bank.
Second.
Begin voting with Commissioner Hengela.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passed.
And then now, as you are sitting as the Leavenworth Land Bank, if it would please you, I'd recommend a motion to accept the property located at 600 Cherokee from the city of Leavenworth, Kansas.
I move that we accept the property at 600 Cherokee Street in Leavenworth in the land bank.
I second what he said.
Okay, begin voting, Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passed.
And finally, I would suggest you recess as sitting as the Leavenworth Land Bank and reconvene as the Leavenworth City Commission.
I move to recess as the land bank and reconvene as the Leavenworth City Commission.
Second.
Okay, begin voting.
Aye.
Commissioner- Yep.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passed. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
That's a lot of.
That makes it
Land
more
bank and
efficient,
now we're
right?
city commission.
Yes, sir.
That's a lot of process there. Okay. Next up, resolutions. Resolution B-2303, setting hearing date for unsafe structures, 717 Spruce Street.
Once again, this will be Hal Burdette, and it is, you may be thinking, we've done a lot of these. We have had more of these than we've had in the past. We don't normally have so many of these for the new commissioners. We don't have fire damage structures this often, but we did have another one. So, Mr. Burdette.
Yeah.
Yes, the resolution this evening again is setting the public hearing date for March 22nd, 2022 for consideration of 717 spruce, which was damaged by a fire on November 13th of last year. At that time, we will present the commission with updates on where we're at in the process.
I move that we accept the resolution setting March 22nd, 2022 as the date of a public hearing regarding the unsafe or dangerous structure located at 717 Spruce Street.
Second.
Okay, begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Okay, bids, contracts, and agreements. City Festival Management Contract, Camp Leavenworth.
Madam Mayor and Commission, at the January 4th City Commission study session, staff presented some information related to the 2021 Camp Leavenworth Festival. I thought we had a good discussion that night. And following that meeting, we developed some areas of focus looking at the 2022 festival. Specifically, we identified increasing awareness and communication with Leavenworth businesses about the festival and participation. We talked about increasing marketing efforts within the community as a whole, both businesses and residential. We talked about to review and attempt to add or create elements that further capitalize on the investment and attention created by the festival. We talked about some small changes to the festival, including a review of timing, placement of certain elements, talking about fireworks night, the s'mores location, the entryway, getting more attention to the entryway. And then we also talked about focusing on activities and a high-level music lineup. Subsequent to that meeting, staff did meet with our festival organizer, Kelly Wenzel, president of O'Neill Events and Marketing, to ensure that full communication of those items, that we're all on the same page. We have very good communication with Kelly, but we had a debriefing after that meeting. And so tonight, she's here. We have the contract for the 2022 festival. The items that's covered in that contract are included below. And you may wonder why we're starting in January, where it's never too early to start for a festival. And so I'm going to turn this over to Kelly and have her talk about what's going on in her contract before you, and then open it, of course, up to questions from the commission.
Okay, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, we were really pleased with the festival this last year. You know, as your second year, technically, of a festival, I think it really did show growth. It brought in visitors. It brought in a lot of the things that we talked about as kind of the goals of the festival when we originally started it. I think what's wonderful about a festival is it grows and ebbs and flows with community input, with the growth of it. The key here is it's grown. In 2 years, it's grown in a lot of different ways, and so we want to build on that growth. And I really appreciate the feedback that was given, because it's already some of the things that we think also can be addressed. And it will continue to change, and it will continue. The footprint will change, the look of it will change, because the reality is your guests will want change. Whether they ask for it or not, they like to have things fresh and new. And so we've looked at all of these things, and we're excited to put on another event for you and continue to look at your community and make it a signature event that you guys all hoped it would be.
Okay.
Thank you.
Questions?
Yes,
Okay,
I have
go
several
ahead.
questions.
Great.
And they may not all be directed to you.
Okay.
In the opening of the contract, it says that O'Neill Events and Marketing will be approached, and they'll provide professional services outlined below under the direction and supervision of designated Leavenworth Festival representatives. Who are the designated Leavenworth Festival representatives?
So normally I take the lead, but our Convention and Visitors Bureau Director, Christy Lee, is more and more involved in that. These are on the day-to-day interactions, as well as now, or soon to be, our Assistant City Manager, Penny Holler. For the first year, I was really involved day-to-day. Second year, we had the gap, and then, of course, we had Melissa Etheridge, but that just sort of allows city staff, other than myself, to sort of meet on the day-to-day items.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Kelly, I got a quick question. All these different folks that you've got listed, you know, different people doing different things, are those individual people on your team, or are some of them comprised of the same person wearing different hats?
Many hats. We usually dedicate about 3 people to this event throughout the year. And we work with city resources on a lot of that. So we guide it and we talked about it, and then we decide who on the city resources can assist with that.
Okay.
Which we work with parks and everybody, community center.
Will do. Nope.
Commissioner Rada, did you have anything? No, I don't have
Sorry.
any.
I've got several.
In detail.
I know.
I'm good, I'm good, I'm good.
One of the things the event producer, under logistics planning is going to do is manage and oversee all festival signage needs. Does that include like yard signs? And who's actually supposed to go out and distribute those? Is that you or the city?
It's the city, yeah.
Okay, so-
We get them up here, and then we ask the city, and we work with usually Parks and Rec and others to put them out. We suggest placements on certain corners or certain areas, but obviously you guys know your city best. And then they get them out.
So would that be the CVB or?
No, usually we have on the day that they bring them up, we, take an afternoon in the Parks Department. It doesn't take long. They put them in city parks, stuff like that, but that's the park staff, the parks maintenance crew.
Thank you.
You have another?
Kelly,
Yeah.
I do, yep, sorry.
know.
We're kind of tag teaming here, not playing, but.
I love it. I mean,
know.
you're really reading my contract, which is really great.
Oh, yeah. Every word.
Just want to know, kind of going forward, not so much tied to the contract, but I would like to know from your perspective, when it comes to starting where we get into the planning phase and strategizing and looking at marketing campaigns and stuff like that. I think the last element I looked at, I don't remember, Paul, it was like 15,000 or less it was spent in actual marketing campaign activities and things like that. Will we have a chance to get a detailed breakdown, summary, kind of course of action we want to take? That's my first question. Second question is, well, I'll let you ask that. or answer
Yeah,
that.
I think that's good. So we do work with Christie and the Visitors Association first to see what do they have, what resources that they are working on. And then every year it's gonna change. So to your point is, we usually put a bucket and we usually say, this is kind of generally where we're gonna spend it. But we all know social media and different things change every year. So we might suggest we're gonna switch that and not do as much the billboards. We don't like the locations. They didn't seem to do it for us. So to your point, we typically then say, here's our suggested way how we're gonna spend this money. And sometimes we ask, like, we've saved on this, could we maybe spend a little bit more? We think the efforts are there. This year was a perfect example with Melissa Etheridge. Obviously, that is gonna regionally draw you. It just naturally was. So we needed to take advantage of some of that. So we utilized some of the Visit KC in Kansas City to try to get some of their ads to get it out a little bit more. So we switched our approach every year depending on who the band is or what the focus is.
Okay, because that, kind of the second part of that too was, obviously Melissa Etheridge was a big draw. People that came for her are not going to come back this year.
Correct.
So just want to make sure, and I know we'll get into this in a few months, but just that we're really, maybe got some other efforts focused on some of our surrounding, maybe partner cities, like Platte City and, just saying, and just dialing in on some, efforts for them too.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't know your background, but I do agree that, in general, marketing is gonna, it's an ever-changing process, particularly when it comes to events, because traditional marketing is changing. People aren't in their cars anymore as much as they used to be because they're remote, working. And so, yes, that approach, I think, should always be there. And we've always looked, the first year, actually, we focused a lot more on the smaller communities around you. And we'd like to kind of continue looking at it, but some of those efforts are pretty minimal on what our options are. That's where the brilliance of like a yard sign. It's pretty inexpensive, but it can be very effective. So yes, we'll definitely look at strategizing on what that is.
Okay, thank you.
I know it's early. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I said, I know it's
Break it up.
early in the game, but what big ideas do you have?
What big idea?
Big ideas you're cooking up for this year?
Funny, I was just going back and forth with kind of who helps book our bands. And I think this year, really considering, we want to change up the genres. I think we've done a great job of keeping a very family, or I would say a very easy listening, so it can kind of appeal to all, all genres and all of that. And we've done a good job with the regional bands. Obviously, Melissa Etheridge is going to draw who she's going to draw, so that's different. So this year, we're kind of looking at potentially more of a country act as one of the nights that's a little bit stronger in the country act, which is a totally different vibe from what we had last year. We did have more of a country act the first year on one night, So we might look at that a little bit more.
There you go, Ed.
Yeah.
You brought it up, man.
You better be there.
Well, we have 2 nights, so that doesn't mean we wouldn't then look at a different type of act the next
That'd be
night.
good. I'm not real big on country or western.
Okay.
Don't forget hip hop.
Yes, exactly.
When you said, there you go, Ed, I thought you meant like, okay, Ed, your question. But there is one. One of the things the logistics planning includes is create a festival communication plan, including radio assignments, radio order, and on-site equipment setup. You're talking about walkie-talkies for the people there,
Yeah, that's all
right?
the weeds.
That.
Yes.
Okay,
that's
thank
the
you.
weeds.
And, working with the local liquor store, it says, work with local liquor store to coordinate liquor needs, equipment, and logistics on site. Are you gonna do that by request for bids from the local liquor stores, or?
Well, this is where it gets very interesting with the state of Kansas, because we're used to in Missouri, we work directly with the distributors, so we don't have to play favorites, I'll be honest. That's a challenge, and so here, we haven't found anybody that really is willing to do what we need, which is, we want to order enough product, but we have no idea if it's gonna rain or if it's gonna have challenges, and we want them to take it back, so, returns. So there's certain people that aren't willing to invest in that inventory, and this year we weren't able to find one in Leavenworth right now. We reached out to a few that we knew, and Lansing Liquors, who we worked with in the first year, and they actually were not interested in doing it this year, which we understood. It was a new game with Melissa. We didn't know what we would anticipate, so our request, we wanted to make sure we had product to sell. That's all. So we'll continue looking at that. Definitely, if there's interested parties to work with us, we'd like to work with somebody in the town.
Sure.
So our other one, so we had the buy it back, and then we had the delivery. And so we have heard since that from 1 or 2 other local liquor vendors. So that's part of that first item. We'll do a better job of making sure we hit everybody first and give them the chance. And then if they say, hey, I just don't want all that potential inventory returned back, then we'll spread out. But it is different, Kelly, was, from what they do in Missouri with the distributor.
It's very challenging because it is really, you're playing with somebody locally or with one versus all of them. So with the distributor, you don't have to play favorites, I guess, is what it would be. So typically then I say, what does the sponsorship look like? And so if you're gonna get an investment out of this, then how can we work together to make it work for that sole purpose, is how I would suggest going forward.
Okay, thank you.
And Kelly, how soon would you recommend locking a group down to get?
Usually, not till the summer. I mean, I would begin talking with anybody. I won't know product-wise what we need until we kind of have an idea of who the talent is and what that might be.
Right.
An example was Melissa, I think a craft beer sponsor made sense, so we were able to work with those. It also depends on the sponsorships on the liquor and the beer side as well, and not everybody has all those products, so that's part of what we wait. And we don't know what products we're gonna sell until I can potentially get some support from the sponsors.
Okay.
You tell me, the marketing manager is going to work with the unified marketing teams to create a coordinated festival content calendar that aligns with PR digital marketing efforts. Who are the unified marketing teams?
Well, here it's usually Christy and the staff. We don't typically, sometimes we have, a graphic design team and then a PR team, and so we usually just keep that general in our contracts, because it just depends on who you all have designated to us to work with.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, I do have a comment. Kelly, I was involved, at least being a volunteer the first year. And, I thought it was just phenomenal, and all the different bands and everything. I know we had a little rain that one day. And then I came back, this last year and volunteered, the 2 days as well. And I think it went great. So you do exceptional work, and I'm excited to see what new and different things you come up with. And like I tell people, it's just gonna grow each year and change.
It should, and I think there's so many opportunities for you guys to enhance it. You just take baby steps. You wanna keep it contained and good and happy, and then you just kinda keep growing it where you see the flow goes.
Right. And then just one more question. not really related to this, but, so when the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, will you be in charge of that parade?
Yeah.
And will it go through downtown Leavenworth?
I just had to plug that, huh? So, yeah,
One more.
okay, Ed, one more.
You've been very patient.
I
For-
love all
I
these
mean-
questions.
great.
This
I
is
mean,
great.
You know, I'm one of the new guys.
Yeah, no, it's
So
great.
I'm always asking questions. Under organizational financial management, the last thing says compile all financial records and supporting documentation for required NPO audits if needed. Who decides whether an audit is needed? And who calls for the audit?
Your city manager, right?
So again, for the city, we are audited every year. So these are city funds, so everything that we spend on this is part of the city's annual audit. We have an annual audit that's required by state statute. So for us, it is required that we receive all that financial information, and that's made available to our auditors.
Okay, so it's not a separate audit, just for the.
Right,
Well, we keep that in there just as, again, a standard thing in case there is a need for one, if it's depending on the designation of the entity of these festivals and that we run. So, yes, we have very detailed.
No, I didn't see anything in the contract about this. It's just a thought that came to my mind. Are you gonna try to get a local radio, not too local, not Leavenworth local, but Kansas City local radio station to come up and try to do a local broadcast?
You know, radio is a different breed right now. It's really changing, and we used to do that. That was our main source of just partnering with a radio station. But a lot of them now are going syndicate, and there's very little local connections. We usually work with, and we did work on this one very closely with the Bridge, which is it's a nonprofit, and they were phenomenal partners. They interviewed Melissa. They did a whole show dedicated to you all because the music lineup is so very Kansas City centric and region centric, and it's a thing. So they're very music focused. So to your point there, we did. Not a lot of people are doing on-site right now. Live remotes, they're kind of costly and they just aren't as effective. But who knows? That can change every minute.
Right.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Okay, I just need a motion then for the contract.
I move that we approve the contract with O'Neill.
Second.
Okay, begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passed.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Kelly typically comes back a couple times during the festival planning process, and we'll share with you, and we'll share updates on some of the priorities that the commission laid out, the efforts we're taking with the local businesses and the local offerings to make sure that we get all that to you on a timely fashion.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks.
Okay, consider bids for demolitions, project number CD 2021-01.
Once again, Julie Hurley?
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Madam Commissioners. On September 14th of last year, the Commission adopted Resolution B 2292, finding a total of 11 structures as unsafe and dangerous and authorizing the demolition of those structures. Since that time, we've had one that made repairs and is no longer unsafe and dangerous. We've had one that's already been demolished due to it being a public safety hazard. 4 were removed by the Commission after review, and then we have one that's currently still under an extension. So, for the 4 remaining structures, we solicited bids for the demolition of those. We received 2 bids back, and the low bid, those were opened on January 11th. The low bid was submitted by Magic Demolition. And I just noticed that there's a typo in here. The correct amount that was submitted is $26,850. Magic Demolition is a contractor that we've worked with quite a bit, and we're comfortable with them. So, funds for the demolition of all these properties are allocated in the community development block grant budget, so no general funds are going to be utilized for this round of demolitions.
Okay.
So staff would just recommend acceptance of the demolition of 4 properties from Magic Demolition in an amount not to exceed $26,850.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions?
Nope.
No.
Okay, just need a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd move to accept the recommendation of the demolition of 4 properties from Magic Demolition in the amount not to exceed $26,850.
Second?
Begin voting with Commissioner Hengula.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passed. Thank you, Julie. Okay, next up is rejection of bids for City Hall HVAC upgrades, project number 2021-971.
This would be Brian Faust, our Public Works Director.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. Item this evening is to consider rejection of the bids for the City Hall HVAC upgrades. The current HVAC rooftop unit at City Hall was installed in 2005. This unit does provide tempered outside fresh air to the occupied areas of the building. The unit typically runs 24 hours a day, and it has reached the end of its useful life. Repairs are becoming more frequent, and replacement parts are becoming harder to obtain. The city did go out to bid and received 2 complete bids for the project. One was from DiAgostino Mechanical, and the other was from Mr. Breeze Heating and Cooling. The 2022 to 26 CIP did include $50,780 for the replacement of the rooftop unit, with funding through the American Rescue Plan Act. The engineer's estimate was updated to account for known price increases during the summer of 2021. Firms that submitted stated they were notified just prior to the bid of an additional 30% increase. The current bidding climate is proving to be very challenging. Inflation, supply chain issues, and staffing are creating significant issues for all of us. This trend will likely continue for the foreseeable future. Staff recommends the City Commission reject all bids for the City Hall HVAC upgrades and allow staff to reevaluate the project. The City Commission can, 1, approve staff's recommendation, accept the low bid from DiAgostino, or can direct staff to rebid the project.
Okay, Mr. Faust, I do have a question. The incomplete bid, why was that incomplete, or did they just not interested, or?
Well, they were interested. We have a requirement for certain paperwork to be included with the bid before we can read it. And that includes the affirmative action statement. And they did not provide all the required paperwork, so we did not read the bid.
Okay.
It's laid out very clearly in the bid specs that this is what they need to provide, so.
Okay.
And Ms. Faust, on the reevaluation, can you maybe shed some light on what you're thinking, in those terms, just like?
We were, we pretty much defined a specific type of equipment that we wanted to use. We can open that up to a little bit more, a little more general. Some of the controls that we bid were things that we would like to see, not necessarily have to have. And so that would be that evaluation. What do we really need?
Sure.
The unit that we bid would serve very well for the city. And we may come back and that's exactly what we want, but give us a chance to reevaluate.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I do too. How long, I know everything's changing and everything keeps going up and up and up, but once we accept a bid, how long is it good for? I guess once we accept it, they're locked into that, and they.
Right, yeah, their bids are usually good for 60 to 90 days depending. That's probably good for 60 days is my guess. And then once we accept it, then, yeah, that is locked
Okay.
in. And that is one of the things that Brian and I have talked about today is, are you gonna get better if you go back out? If you go back out and you put the bid specs back out, you do a bidding period, you open them, you could be right back here. I don't think we'll be much higher if we make some tweaks, but as we look at projects throughout the rest of the year, we may have to think about that.
Okay.
Because something like this, excuse me, Mr. Faust, putting it back out, once you guys have decided what you want to look at, you should get a response to your bid within a couple weeks, I would imagine, once you.
Correct. We typically want to be out a minimum of 10 days. So typically we go 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We can be more aggressive too. We advertise in the Drexel. It's posted in the paper, and we do send out to firms that we know that are interested. We could actually, try to send out to more firms. But we did have 3 that did respond. And like I said, one of them it was lessons learned. He didn't have all the paperwork, so.
Right.
Yeah. Might this time around.
I know, second chance. Okay, any other questions? Then I just need a motion.
I move that we approve staff's recommendation to reject all bids.
Second.
Begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, consider award of 2022 new/unused truck cab and chassis with refuge compaction body.
Brian?
This evening, we have Steve King, our solid waste foreman here. The item this evening is to consider authorizing the solid waste division to purchase a refuse truck with packer body through Sourcewell National Pricing in the amount of $202,449.72. The equipment replacement schedule for our solid waste division has one of our 6 trucks identified for replacement this year. The 2022 solid waste division budget included funding in an amount of $250,000 for this replacement. Steve did prepare bid specs and researched options for purchasing the refuge truck. After reviewing the options, staff made the decision to utilize Sourcewell National Pricing for the cooperative purchase. This program does allow the city to purchase equipment that meets our needs while guaranteeing the standard governmental purchasing practices are followed. Specifications were prepared, and they did include a 5-year warranty on the engine and after treatment, and an extended 3-year warranty on the transmission. The cost of the new truck is $202,449.72. But we also have a trade-in value on our 2008 Freightliner of $23,500. So the net cost to the city would be $179,699.72, which is definitely less than our $250,000 that we budgeted. Staff does recommend purchasing the new unit through Elliott Equipment Group for the quoted price of $179,699.72 after trade-in and freight.
Okay,
And Steve can answer any questions that you
any
might have.
questions?
Thank you for saving money.
I know, that's a refresher.
Mr. King, I do have one question. What route is this new one gonna go on?
Well, they kind of started working all together, so it'll be all over the place. It'll be everywhere.
Ed?
Mr. Faust, do you mind, just so that everybody, all of our residents here in Leavenworth understand this too, maybe explain a little bit of background on Sourcewell and why we do use them for cases like this? You know, it is a co-op, and maybe just, if you don't mind
Well,
explaining.
the biggest thing from our perspective is if we go out ourselves, develop the specifications and go out to bid, it's kind of a more of a local, I mean, how do we get that national distribution of companies that provide those types of trucks and packer bodies? Sourcewell is a national pricing system, so their prices are hard to beat because they basically look at a national level. And they do, like I said, they meet all of our requirements, so we can do it. We'd really struggle to get something at a price like this.
Yeah, and it is a benefit for these big capital purchases like this to the city because, and anybody local can participate in these co-ops as well. So it just gives that national visibility and helps us to maximize our savings like it did, you know, so, cool. Thank you.
Commissioner Bauer?
No, I'm nothing.
Anything, Commissioner?
Ready to move on this?
No,
Good? Okay, I just need a motion.
I move, go ahead.
Go ahead. I move to approve purchasing the new unit for the quoted price of $179,699.72 after trade-in and freight.
Second.
I begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, consider bids, Water Pollution Control Division Chemicals.
Mr. Faust?
The item this evening is to consider approval of yearly bids for the purchase of chemicals used in the operation and maintenance of our wastewater treatment plant. These chemicals are used for a variety of purposes within our treatment operations. Due to the rise in chemical costs, combined with some increased usage, the total chemical cost is expected to increase by roughly $8,000 or 11% in 2022. Staff recommends the City Commission approves the low bid for chemicals that meet the specifications in an amount not to exceed $65,000.
I have a question for you. What is a polymer? Palmer?
Polymers,
Palmer, because it went up the most. I just didn't know what it was.
it's a coagulating agent that we use in our dewatering process.
Okay. Did you have any questions, Commissioner Martin?
Oh.
You got anything? No?
Not at the moment.
Anything?
No.
Commissioner Hengler? Okay, then I just need a motion.
I move that we accept this low bid, the low bid for each of the chemicals as described by Mr. Faust.
Second.
Begin voting with Commissioner Hengler.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passed. Thank you. Okay, consider the purchase of 2022 software upgrade related to 911.
Madam Mayor and Commissioner, the next two items will be handled by our Police Chief, Pat Kitchens.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. The Police Department is before the governing body this evening, asking for your consideration to acquire software that will upgrade our 911 system. Specifically, I would be asking you to authorize the initial 3-year purchase of Microsoft SQL Server Enterprise Core Edition with license and software assurance from ISG Technology LLC in the amount of $47,451.06. The Leavenworth Police Department operates what's known as a public safety answering point, more commonly referred to as a 911 dispatch center at the Justice Center. Every year, we receive between 60 and 70,000 phone calls, which result in somewhere between 20 and 30,000 police responses. A significant portion of those are via our 911 system. The 911 system is operated and overseen and coordinated by the Mid-American Regional Council in Kansas City. As technology evolves within our culture, it's important to make sure that our 911 system is kept up to date with those technologies. This software acquisition and installation would be an upgrade in 3 particular areas that we are currently dealing with. First of all is to text to 911. Right now, a person who is experiencing an emergency and needs the support of the police, fire, or EMS can text 911 alphabetically, but it does not go like a normal 911 call. It is routed through the TTY system, which is the system that we use to communicate with a person that's deaf and can't hear. That is a workaround that we created to make sure that we're doing the best we can. This software acquisition and installation would specifically allow us to receive text from 911 straight to the dispatch console through the CAD system and originate a call just like every other call. Currently now, we cannot receive video or photograph attachments associated with a text message. This software enhancement would allow us to do that. So for example, if someone were out in the community and they happen to witness an event or they experience something where they can photograph something or record a video, they would be able to send that to the dispatcher. The dispatcher then would be able to distribute that to the officer so they could see it in their car either while they're en route or once they arrive. That information would be vital to making a better decision about how to appropriately respond if there was imminent danger, if there was an arrest decision, that we can use that information that would be given to us. And so that's the first component of the enhancement here. Second would be something called Rapid SOS. If someone calls 911 from a house in the city of Leavenworth, that information, where they are located, the address, automatically is available to the dispatcher. If you call 911 from your cell phone right now, it's not that specific. We can find you. If you don't know where you are, we can find you, but it takes time. In public safety, response time, seconds can matter and minutes can matter. Very often, we can only narrow it down to a 500-foot radius sometimes. And this system, Rapid SOS software component, would allow us to pinpoint exactly where you are exactly. So if you were at someone's house, but you didn't know what the address was and you needed public safety, we could find you much more quickly. And that component is vital to what we do. Those are the 2 principal components. There's a third final component to this software installation and acquisition, which would be something called business intelligence. Leavenworth Police Department collects a ton of data. And sometimes it takes us a little bit of time to sort through that. This allows us to more rapidly analyze the data in a much more efficient way. For example, if someone said, hey, chief, there's a lot of people running the red light at 4th and Shawnee Street. Can you check to see if, how that's happening, what's going on there? I can do those inquiries. I have to run the intersection, and then I have to run, for example, a different inquiry on how many citations we might have written. What this system would allow me to do is specifically I could write what's called a report to say, I want to know every week how many citations we're writing in a particular location, or how many accidents we're writing in a particular location, without having to search for it. If there is a criminal matter where there is crimes that are taking place that have similar MOs, those kinds of things, we can take the data that we have and make it specific to us so that we can get that information. The stuff that we currently have now is pretty general that comes with the software. This would be an enhancement to that and allow us to be much better and much more efficient at analyzing all of that data.
Oh, yeah.
Part 2 of that would be that we would be in a position to put in the Justice Center lobby a monitor, video monitor, much like this, that would tell people sort of what's going on in the community. The example would be, I've come to the police department to file a police report, and it's a fairly low-level police report. It's not an emergency, but I'm seemingly having to wait for a while. This information would provide to the person who's waiting information about what's going on. There's 6 officers on duty, 4 of them are tied up on this, 1 of them's tied up on this, and so I recognize that it's taking a long time, but there's a reason why it is, and they can get a sense about how long it might take. We've also talked in the past a lot about kiosks in the Justice Center lobby to file a report without having to talk to a police officer. This is part of building that infrastructure when we get ready to install those and put those on, connecting our data to the kiosks. And so those are the 3 principal elements of why I'm advocating that you authorize this purchase so that we can get this software and install it within the system. The project is funded through the 911 sales tax. Every month, on every person that has a cell phone in the city of Leavenworth, there's a small tax that's associated with that, specifically designed and regulated by state statute, so that when it's time to make these upgrades in our 911 center, that money is available. Our current balance in that fund is $76,869.42, and that allocation for this software would be funded through that. Okay, so I would be asking for you again to approve the purchase of Microsoft SQL Server Enterprise Core Edition with licensure and software assurance from ISG Technology LLC in the amount of $47,451.06, and I'll answer whatever questions that you might have.
Yeah, Chief Kitchens, on this text to 911, I mean, what is really the radius of that? You know, if somebody.
So everybody in the city of Leavenworth can call 911.
Right.
Part of the dilemma that would fix this would be when you call 911, or it depends on which tower you hit, right? So on the calling, on the texting to 911, it's kind of the same thing. So it depends on where you are as to which tower it reaches. And remember, texting is principally supposed to be one phone to the other. And that's why it's a little bit complicated. But if you were to text 911 right now, 99% of the time, it would go to our dispatchers here. Sometimes they get over to Platte County.
If I was in Lansing, or, right.
It would still come to us. Yeah,
Okay.
it would still come to
I
us.
didn't, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Most of the time. There's still a little bit of a hiccup in that, depending on which tower and that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Chief Kitchens, thank you for the information. These are actually great selling points here. So you're talking about basically any metric you want to put together right now, depending on what it is, it's a very manual process. You've got to go through, dig through the data, and I mean, that's got to be a nightmare.
Well, so it's good data in, gets you good data out, but you have to ask the right question to get the right answer that you're looking for. And I'm hoping to clean that up a little bit. We get a lot of questions. What's happening in this part of town, or what's going on over here? I can do that. I just have to ask the right questions sometimes with our system. And that's just, I think, sort of commonplace with technology and databases and that sort of thing. So this is supposed to help us clean that up and allow me to write the question so it will answer it the way that I want it answered, so I can get that information to you or to the members of the public.
So that was actually another question I had. So how many licenses are coming with this purchase?
It would be one that applies to the entire police
Is one,
department.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. I don't know if it's based on user or not.
Commissioner Ritter, did you
Oh, no,
have? Okay.
Chief?
Yes, sir.
No, you're
ISG
fine, I was.
ISG Technology LLC, is that the only vendor that's available that can do this? Or did it already go out to bid?
So we currently have ISG stuff, and this is just simply an expansion of that.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Wilson? Okay.
I move that we approve the purchase of Microsoft SQL Server Enterprise Core Edition with license and software assurance from ISG Technology LLC in the amount of $47,451.06.
Second.
Okay, begin voting. Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passed. Okay, next, consider bids for purchase of 2022 SWAT locker replacements.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, the Police Department is asking you to approve the bid of Southwest Solutions Group Incorporated in the amount of $38,991.21 for the purchase of replacement lockers used by the members of the Police Department SWAT team. Police Department operates a 15-person part-time SWAT team that is responsible for critical incidents in the city of Leavenworth. Each SWAT operator is assigned a significant amount of personal equipment that's specific and necessary to carry out those functions and missions. Additionally, the SWAT team has a considerable amount of equipment that's general to the team that everybody uses in a critical event. The current lockers that we have, I'll show you some pictures of inside the SWAT team, were acquired in I'm saying the 1990s because I think it was 1999. I was here for that. We got,
Yeah.
so we got those from the former prison furniture company at USP. They manufactured those.
Yep.
Oh, no, why is that one? Let me right click and see if I can turn it. Anyway, they're old high school gym lockers that look like that. The locker is full and there's some of the stuff that's associated with what's currently there. So they sort of kind of make do as best they can. I'm embarrassed that the pictures are crooked. I don't know how to fix that, but that's okay. I think you get the general idea that there's a lot of stuff that they have, and it needs to be a little bit better suited. We have look at that house. Sorry, that's top secret police stuff. Don't go in and look at that.
Kick it in the house.
Yeah.
We sent out the SWAT lockers for bid. We got 3 of the bids you saw here contained in the policy report. Southwest Solutions Group Incorporated was the low bid at $38,991.21.
Seems like a lot of money.
What's that?
Seems like a lot of money.
We are subject to the same things that our colleagues at the Public Works Department have. When we originally did this, probably in March of April of last year, they were telling us it was gonna be 27-ish. And here we are 8 or 10 months later, and it's now, nearly, 10 or 15% higher than that.
Yeah.
When we talked to the vendor, he made it very clear it's about the price of sheet metal is very specifically being adversely affected by, price points, and that's some of the same things, shipping costs and those sorts of things are really driving all kinds of costs.
So you don't expect that to go down anytime soon?
We do not.
Pat, are these, the new ones were getting bigger, better?
Yeah, do we have a picture of the new ones, or?
There's some little pictures here, but
Here,
it's hard to
yeah, I
tell.
know.
And will the old ones be going on Purple Wave?
Yeah, we'll sell them at the Smithsonian.
Oh.
You aren't gonna get much for those old lockers.
No.
$1 a piece.
They're
Might take a
they're
minute or
probably
two to
pretty
come
solid,
up,
but, old.
Is this,
Well, they were given away, weren't they, over at Immaculata?
I promise I
Yeah,
have one.
they were.
I promise you, I had a picture loaded on here of them. Yes, they are much bigger. They are probably 36 inches wide. There's a bench, there's
Okay.
understorage, there's
Okay. so
all
it's
kinds of
full-
things. Yes.
Yeah, that's why it's probably more expensive,
All right, it
too.
doesn't look like one of those.
Yeah, that's what I was,
Okay.
okay.
So let's talk about the budget process, the funding for this. This project was originally, it was partnered with a smaller locker project that has to do with our evidence room. And those were budgeted in the 2023 capital improvement budget. in the course of about the middle of last year, there was a change in the way that the city went about buying vehicles. We switched to the enterprise leasing program. And so we had made an allocation for an animal control van. And so since that was included in the leasing project, we then are moving that allocation over so that we could do the locker project. And so that was how that was done. That allocation was $57,000, which would certainly be within the budget parameters of the cost of the lockers. And then the other smaller project, we would take from the balance of that, which we should be able to do that. So I'd be asking you to approve the bid of Southwest Solutions Group Incorporated in the amount of $38,991.21 for the purchase of replacement lockers used by the members of the SWAT team.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
does this bid, this includes delivery and installation, right?
Yes, this is everything. Yes, sir.
You guys aren't gonna be screwdriving.
One small other piece that we'll have to do a little electrical work inside of the Justice Center for some outlets. We will pay for that through our building and maintenance fund that's in the operations budget of the police department, probably less than $1,000, but we will get that taken care of as part of that. So that's it, unless there's any other questions.
Did you have any? Mr.
No,
Martin?
I'm good.
Okay, just need a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the bid of the Southwest Solutions Group, Inc. in the amount of $38,991.21 for the purchase of replacement of lockers used by members of the SWAT team.
Second.
Begin voting with Commissioner Hengula.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passed.
Thank you.
Chief Kitchens.
I apologize for the locker picture. I swear I have one.
Oh,
of the new
No, I
one.
was gonna say, maybe we ought to.
I'll just
Yeah,
email it to
just
you.
do it.
I probably have it here.
Yeah, that's it.
On my
Yeah,
phone.
let us, see them
put
when
on
they're
Facebook.
installed. Okay, consider purchase and installation of Hawthorne Park splash pad.
Madam Mayor and Commission, I think this is the third time we've talked about the splash pad in the last couple meetings. But this is a good one. This is approving, moving forward with this, with the actual bid for it. So just to back up a bit, we talked about at the December 7th meeting, presented an overview of the splash park. We brought that to you so early so that we could try to get this ready for the summer season of this year. The worst thing is to open a splash park in the fall. So we really wanted to get this started. We came back to talk just recently about how do we fund, how do we go forward with parks projects. We continue to hear about the uncertainty of the bid market. And so I have instructed our Parks and Recreation Director, Steve Grant, to get this going as quick as possible. So what's before you tonight is the bid for the total cost of the splash pad installation at Hawthorne Park. That's $169,489.50. I did want to point out that the original projection was $135,000. This is about 25% over. It's about what we're seeing. This should fit in well with the temporary note approach that we talked about as a commission. And this hopefully will allow us, barring some shipping issues, to get this going and hopefully open this year. So it's before the governing body tonight. I do want to point out that we removed some fencing. We have staff doing some of the prep work. We tried to cut this down as much as possible to everything that we could do in-house. And we can certainly go back later if we need to add some fencing and stuff like that. But we really wanted to get this bid as tight as we could get.
Okay.
Okay, any questions? Okay, just need a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the purchase and installation of Hawthorne Park splash pad.
Second.
Okay. Begin, I know.
I'll be the
Me
big
too.
kid, the first kid.
Finally got up in here.
Commissioner Martin, begin
Aye.
voting.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passed. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Now, I'll be right there with you. Okay. This, I just need a consensus. First consideration ordinance. First consideration of municipal judge charter ordinance number 62.
Madam Mayor and Commission, this is a little bit of a unique item for us, and I'm going to go through step by step, and I do have our city attorney here too. So not long ago, we had the unfortunate passing of Judge Bill Prey, who had been the municipal court judge for the city of Leavenworth, and in fact for the other cities in the county as well, since before I started with the city of Leavenworth. He was selected, I believe, the year before I started by my predecessor, Scott Miller. At the time that Scott selected Judge Prey, he went to the City Code of Ordinances, as you normally do, to find the process by which this position was filled. So the City Code of Ordinances says, all officers and employees shall be appointed by the city manager, except as otherwise provided by state law or other city ordinances. All appointments shall be based solely on merit and fitness. Appointed officials shall include, but not limited to, city clerk, city attorney, city treasurer, municipal judge, police chief, and city engineer. So at that point, Judge Prey was put in place. So upon the passing of Judge Prey, we went through a process and opened it up and interviewed candidates. And in the process of selecting the new municipal court judge, we looked at what is the process to swear them in. Well, that led to questions of make sure we get that right, and then the state statute came up. And so what we found was that there's a very narrow number of cities that are cities of the first class in counties between 60,000 and 100,000 population, which we happen to be. This is a 1971 state statute that then prescribes that your city judge, who handles all of your city ordinance issues, code violations, stuff like that, would be appointed by the district court judges. You can, and many cities have, or few cities have that we've come across, you can charter out of it. We have chartered out of dozens of state statutes throughout the years, and the sole purpose of local control, that your city judge who handles your issues is appointed locally. And so what we are asking the governing body to do tonight is to provide a consensus on first consideration to charter out of the prescribed, what's listed in the resolution, to move forward the charter ordinance to go this direction and have the local municipal court judge selected as laid out in the city code of ordinances. So David, did I miss anything on that?
I'll just add a little bit about charter ordinances because there can be a sense, well, why can't we just charter out of any statute that we don't want to apply to us? Under the Kansas Constitution, if there are state statutes that are not uniformly applicable to cities, meaning all cities, and by nature of this one statute being very limited to just a small group of types of cities, the Kansas Constitution gives cities the ability to what we call charter out of the application of those types of statutes and to adopt replacement provisions of their own. Now, you already have those replacement provisions essentially in your city code. It may very well be that at the time that the city code on this was adopted, that this Leavenworth did not fit within the statute, and so that's why it was never as an issue. But as the county grew, we came into it, and that was never looked at, in the X number of years since then. So that's what gives the city the ability to charter out. It is a special type of ordinance. Upon passage, it does require that it be adopted by a 2/3 vote of the governing body, and it is also subject to a petition and referendum if there's any reason that somebody wants to put it up for a vote. So there's a 60-day effectiveness afterwards. So it does not become effective immediately upon publication, but there's a delayed publication. So part of the Kansas Constitution, part of the Home Rule amendments on that gave the cities the power of home rule.
Good. I'd say good job for finding that,
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, you never know sometimes.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that there's no case law, there's no AG opinions on this. Who knows the last time anybody even turned to this in a book?
And we don't want Leavenworth to be the first. Yeah.
Right. Okay, I just need a consensus. Yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay. We have a consensus. Okay, now we are to the consent agenda.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the claims for January 1st, 2022 through January 14th, 2022 in the amount of $1,782,462.15. Net amount for payroll number 1, effective January 14th, 2022 in the amount of $353,602.39. No police and fire pension.
Second.
Okay, begin voting with Commissioner
Aye.
Reed. Aye.
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 Okay, motion passed. Okay, the meeting has come to a close, but let's go around for final comments. Paul Kramer, did you have anything?
Not tonight, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Hengela, did you have anything?
Just one thing, Friday night, the 28th of January, 5:30 to 6, there's a candlelight vigil for life at the Leavenworth County Courthouse. Dress warm, I'll see you there.
God bless and have a great week.
Okay, Commissioner Bennett?
The only thing I have is that the COVID numbers, the new COVID numbers have gone down. And it's something we expected. I mean, as a med tech, I know that viruses, as they regenerate, degenerate, they tend to burn out. And so I think we have exposed so many people in our community that it's finally gonna start to go back down, which is a good thing. I expected that this one would go down with all my study of the stats over the last year and a half. I'm a statistician too, so I really studied those for our community. I don't care about the CDC or anything else. I'm always looking at our community when it comes to the stats. So I think that is a good sign, and I think we're gonna be through this in another month or so. So that's exciting news.
Yeah, excellent news. I don't have anything either. God bless.
Okay, yeah, I don't have anything. I just have a great evening. I just need a motion.
Move.
Adjourn. Second?
Second.
Okay. Vote.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We're done.